now we are going to study RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. The RAG, it allows you to use large language model to ask questions and receive answers related to your personal domain. In other words, to your knowledge base. So in this particular instance, we'll be focusing on Amazon Bedrock knowledge base, GuardRails, and also agents. So we would be using two steps. In the first step, I'll be creating an S3 bucket. Step 2, I'll be creating a knowledge base using Bedrock, Amazon Bedrock, and then I'm going to sync this knowledge base with S3. In other words, I'm going to populate this knowledge base from the data that's coming from S3. So let's go ahead and create the bucket first. So come over here, type S3. You will see this S3 right here. So go ahead and click on that. And click on create bucket. That will be this right here. Click on create bucket. Bucket name, okay. Region, I'm using US North Virginia one. Purpose bucket, everything default. And I'm going to call this bucket as a BKT mag demo. That's the name of the bucket I'm getting. All right, come back down over here. Everything I'm leaving as default. I do not want everybody having access to this, so I'm blocking all public access. I just want myself having access to this. Down over here. And then go ahead, click on create bucket. And now I'm going to upload some files over here. So go ahead, click on upload. And I want to upload some files. So go ahead, click on add files now. And these are the files. So I'm going to be uploading all these 3 files. Files have been, okay, that's great. Now click on upload. That's going to upload the files. Let's wait for it. Okay, so files have been successfully uploaded. Now we are going to Bedrock. So just type Bedrock. All right, click on Bedrock. And at Amazon Bedrock, now we are going to create our knowledge base. See an option right here. Click on this. Create manage knowledge base. Here, see this manage knowledge base recommended. Right, click on this. Now let's give it a name. So knowledge base name, I'm going to call this thing as KB RAG. B-RAG. Data source name, I'm going to call this thing as BS RAG. I'm going to keep my data source as Amazon S3. That's where I'm going to get my data from. Right, so right click on browse. Bucket I just created, S3, so I'll be using that as my data source. Good. Down over here. Okay, so this looks good. Right, so I'm good with this. Click on create knowledge base, and this can take some time depending on the size of your S3 bucket. Just wait. All right, so my knowledge base has been successfully created and synced. It took me approximately 3 minutes for this to happen. Copy this knowledge base ID. We would use this in our code. Copy this. Now on this code right here, what I'm doing, I'm loading my environment right here. This is my region. In this case, I'm using US East 1. Also my knowledge base ID. This is where I'm copying and pasting my knowledge base ID. The model ID I'm using is this one right here. So first thing I'm doing is creating a client. And in this case, I'm using Bedrock agent runtime. This is my service name. And then supply your necessary parameters in here. Also create your runtime client. So in this case, I'm using service name Bedrock runtime. So I have two basically. I have KB client and a runtime client. So let's perform retrieve first. So this function is responsible for taking the question from the user. It's going to take the question from the user and is going to send this question to the vector database. And the vector database is going to return the necessary context or information that's relevant to this question. That's what this thing does. Okay, and then I'm building a context. So the response I receive from my vector database, I'm going to take the response and I'm going to build a context right here. So in this case, I'm taking the documents, I'm taking all the results that's coming from here, I'm just creating a little context. After I create a context, I create this particular function is called generate. What it does is going to take the question from the user, also the context that was generated. This function is going to take the context and it's going to create a prompt using that question and the context. So it's going to say you are an expert assistant and answer only from the supplied context. And you supply the context, also you supply the question. This context, it comes from the vector database. This question comes from the user. And now this prompt, this whole thing is a prompt, is going to go to your large language model. And this is the one that's responsible for making that call. I'm using Converse API. In this case, I'm using runtime client. Okay, I get the response. So let's go ahead and run this. The question is, what course is the Department of Computer Science offering? And so I retrieve the question, I retrieve the relevant results. From the results, I build the context right here, and then I give the question and the context to the generate right here, this function. That's going to generate the answer. Also, I'm printing out the source because a lot of times in the companies, they want to know where exactly you got your information from. So it kind of like gives you think of this as an audit. So you know that the information you're getting is correct. Go ahead and increase the size of the screen, and let's go ahead and run this. Go and run Python file. There you go. So let's go up. So this is the answer. The Department of Computer Science and Engineering is offering the following courses. 3, it mentions those courses. That's pretty good. Also gave me the sources right here. So the source of this information is from here. It also gives me the confidence. What is the confidence? Like how confident it is, it matches with the question. And the answer is getting is from here, o2 course.txt, o2.txt. You can actually go inside this file. You will be able to find this information in there. So let's go ahead and open that file. That would be here, upload, knowledge base doc. That would be this one right here, o2 courses.txt. All right, that's great. So if you open this file up, you can see that it gives you this one, and this one. Okay, that's pretty good. Gave me the answer that I wanted. Well, if you want, you can print out the result. You can also print out the context by putting a little print statement over here. This will allow you to see how the result looks like and how the context looks like when you call these functions, build context, and when you call the function retrieve. And now we are going to be talking about GuardRails. Then you have these types of filters right here in GuardRails. So you have content filter. That's one of them. This will detect your harmful content. It will actually filter out all the harmful content. Denied topics. Maybe you don't want a user to have access to certain topics. So it blocks the entire topics. Also, you can have word filters. Maybe you don't want the users seeing certain bad words. So you can block some exact words or even phrases. Also, you can filter out sensitive information filters. So in other words, it detects and blocks your personal identifier information. For example, your salary, maybe your social security number, maybe your house address, your phone number, it can block all those things out. Then you have contextual grounding checks. This actually makes sure that it does not produce some false answer. In other words, it does not hallucinate. That's why you put these things over here. So go to your Amazon Bedrock console. That will be this right here. And you see a guardrail somewhere over here. That would be right there. Go ahead, click on this. Then select create guardrail. Enter the name of the guardrail. Let's just call this thing as gr-rag. Okay. Description, this is optional. So I'm just going to say this is demo guardrail. All right. Then this is the message in case if the user is not able to access something because the guardrail blocked it. So this is the default message that's going to come over there. If you want, you can change this thing. I'm going to keep this thing as a default. Then go ahead, click on next. And then over here, I'm going to turn on filters. So let's go ahead and turn on the harmful categories. I do not want the LLM answer any question about harmful categories. So these are the filters for the sub-filters for the harmful categories. So for example, hate speech, insult, sexual, violence, misconduct. So these things would not be shown. You can also set up the threshold. Come down over here, prompt to text. By the way, one more thing. So let's say you do not want to block this one. So you can just come over here and unblock it. Okay, detect no action. You can do that too. Right, prompt attacks. I do not want it to actually overriding the system prompt. Let's turn on prompt attacks. Same thing. These are the configuration for attacks. And content filter TS. In this case, I'm going to use classic right here. So come over here, click on next. You can add some topics over here that will be denied so that your large language model will not allow you to answer those questions. In this case, I'm not adding any topics right here. So go ahead, click on next. And then over here, I'm going to turn on the profanity filter, right? Let's come down over here, add words. You can even add some words manually if you can also upload from a local file. Also upload from the S3 object, your S3 bucket. All right. Let's come over here. Let's see what else can we do. You can edit words and phrases. Okay. You can even view and edit. Okay. Good. You can even add word by yourself, by the way. Go ahead, click on next. Now on this page, add contextual grounding check. In this case, I'm going to I'll skip this one. I'm going to say next. You can come back and go through this. Add automated reasoning check. Also, I'm going to click on next and review and create. So you can come back and just review your guardrails and see if you're satisfied with that. If not, you can always go and check and click on this edit and change that. All right, I'm happy with this thing. Click on create guardrails. And that will take us to this page. And you can see that your guardrail has been successfully created. This is the ID of the guardrail. And you can even test your guardrail. You can type a prompt over here to see if your guardrail is working. By the way, generally what people they do in industry is they actually try different prompts, see where exactly it fails, where it doesn't fail, and then they go back and change the guardrail parameters. So this is what happens in. Okay, so coming over here, now we're gonna create a version. So in this case, I'm just gonna say this is version 1 or this is demo guardrails GR. Okay, create version. Wait for it. There you go. You can see the version 1 guardrail has been created. Go ahead, copy this ID. This is the one that we'll be using to this guardrail. Then we come to this code right here. This is guardrail. This code is essentially same as your previous code. The only thing I'm doing, if you scroll down over here, you can see everything is similar. Retrieving from the question, you retrieve the relevant information from your vector database, build a context from the retrieved information, then you give the question and you give the prompt to this function generate. That's going to create a prompt right here. Also, this function will call the converse API, and this is the one. This is the one that's responsible for enforcing your guardrail. This is all that's been added. Other than that, the code is similar to the previous code. Okay, and then in this case, I'm asking, how can I cheat an exam? Okay, let's see what it does. If it gives me a, does it give me an answer? Does it not give me an answer? So let's go ahead and run this. Come over here. Type Python. Wait for it. See. You should see some message like something like you. Sorry, I couldn't answer that. Oh, the answer. Sorry, the model cannot answer this question. And you can see that guardrail has been is successfully working now. That's great. And now I will show you how to use agents. So the agents, they consist of LLM and tools. So agents, they use LLM to decide which tool to call. So for example, in this case, this agent has one LLM and it has two tools, access to two tools. One of them is a lookup course. The other one is a search managed knowledge base. So based on the question that the user asks, it is going to select one of these tools and also going to execute one of these tools based on what the user asks. The first thing I'm doing is installing necessary libraries. I'm installing this strands agents. I'm installing strands agents too. After that, import your libraries. Then come over here, load up your .env file. This one is responsible for loading your .env file. Then I'm accessing my all my AWS keys. Then I'm specifying my knowledge base ID. My knowledge base ID essentially is the same one I created a minute ago. So this is the same guardrail ID I just showed you. And then come down over here. I'm creating a knowledge base client. So then after that, I'm creating these two tools. So first tool is search managed knowledge base. That would be this one. So based on what the user asks, this will actually is going to come and going to search this particular knowledge base. And it's going to retrieve the necessary information. This particular tool, this is the second tool. By the way, you actually put at the rate of tools. This is how, this is a wrapper, by the way. This is how you actually create these tools and in this AWS over here. So you define your lookup course, and in this case, you supply your department course number. This is what your AI is going to be doing. It's going to call this tool. And in this particular case, what I'm doing, I'm actually creating a small dictionary. So in this dictionary, I have 3 courses: Bio 101, English 102, and Math 151. You can actually make an API call over here. That's going to work fine too. So I create a little dictionary over here. I'm hard coding a dictionary. And based on the department and course number that the user supplied, it's going to retrieve that particular course and instructor, schedule, location, credit, and seats available information, and it's going to return that the LLM. And now I create the agent. So this function is responsible for creating an agent. If you recall, when you create an agent actually has a large language model, also has tools. So this particular function right here, this instance, I'm just creating a Bedrock model. So this is the one that's going to be supplying your large language model, and also giving a system prompt. So I'm saying you're a university virtual assistant, and give the system prompt. And I'm specifying right there, I'm actually saying that use the searched managed knowledge base tool to search the knowledge base for university uh, history courses offered in financial aid, something like this. This will make sure that anytime when a user asks those types of questions, this will use this tool, this one, searched managed knowledge base. Back down over here. And then I'm also specifying in this prompt that use the lookup course tool when someone asks about a specific course schedule. And cite your sources. Also, I'm giving some guidelines that keep your answers concise and answer only what the user asks. I'm also saying do not include unnecessary information if the user does not ask for it. Then I create my agent. In this case, this is my model. This is my large language model. I'm supplying my tools. I'm actually using two, and give your system prompt right here. Returns the agent. Then I run the main function. So this one is responsible for running your agent. So I'm creating a while loop, and it's going to keep asking user type a question, and when the user types quit, exit, or queue, it's going to exit this loop. So I ran this and I used 3 different questions. The first question is, how many credit is Bio 101? So in this case, it should use lookup course tool, because this particular question is answered by this one, by lookup tool. That would be this right here, this one, lookup course. Okay, and also I'm giving an instruction right here that use the lookup course tool when someone asks a question about a specific course schedule, and so on. Okay, next question I would ask would be, what courses are offered by the computer science department? In this case, it should use search managed knowledge base tool, because this is a question related with the computer science department. And then let's say I ask a question, how do I cheat on my exam? It should be rejected by the GuardRails. So the GuardRails should get activated. So let's go ahead and run this. Let me increase. Enter. Copy this. Paste it. Enter. Let me increase the size of the screen more. See? All right. So assistant gave me a response. I need to look up the credit information for Bio 101. I will use the lookup course tool. That's great. I wanted to use lookup course tool because this particular information is present inside the, you can access this information from the lookup course. And it gave me the answer. Bio 101 is 4 credits. That's great. Let's go verify that. Come over here. Bio 101, 4 credit. Bio 101. There you go. Bio 101, the credit is 4. Great. It gave me the right answer. Now let's go ahead and ask another question. That would be this one right here. What courses are offered by the computer science department? It should use the knowledge base now, one that we created. Right? Let me this. Okay. And there you go. So what courses are offered by the computer science department? System thinking. I need to search the knowledge base for the list of courses. That's good. And tool it used is search managed knowledge base. This is good. And it gave me right answer. These are the courses that are offered by the computer science department. This information is present inside the knowledge base. That's great. Now let's go ahead and ask this question. How do I cheat on my exams? So this should be rejected. It should not answer this question. Let's see what it does. Oh. There you go. Sorry, the model cannot answer this question. That's great. and then type Q for quitting, and goodbye. Thank you.